Thanks everybody for taking your time out of your Sunday mornings to join. Today's topic is a good one to discuss earnings and earnings season and some of the things that we've done with respect to that in the platform. So I'll be going over that this morning, and we'll build some screens on how to look for stocks that have beat expectations and are showing a huge amount of surprise in their EPS and sales data. How to screen for big earning winners from the last cycle or this cycle. So we'll cover all of that today. If you can hear me, okay, cool. We got 1-2s already. That makes that makes my job a lot easier. We have quite a few people joining in because it's a very interesting topic to go over. So before we begin, I will go ahead and share a link to our Discord. If you're attending this webinar, you can go ahead and join our Discord, which is where we conduct polls, give you previews of what's coming up in the platform. And that way you're always in the loop. If you're already a subscriber, great. You get to see what we're doing. And if you're not a subscriber, you get to take a look at what we're doing and see if Deepvue is something that you want to be a part of. So I'll go ahead and paste that Discord invite in the chat right here. You guys can go ahead and join that. We're very active in there. You guys will see a lot of previews, a lot of polls, a lot of announcements, things that we're working on, discussion of ideas, and we're actively building the platform. So we have updates almost every other week, or if not every week, to the platform. So we always make sure that we're listening to people, what they want to have in the platform, and try to accomplish it to the best of our abilities right away. So the next thing I want to cover is if you're attending today and you're active, if you're attending today and you're interested in the early Black Friday offer that we're running during these webinars, you just have to email hello@deepvue.com with the words early Black Friday offer. So if you go ahead and do that, that's for existing subscribers as well as new subscribers, where you can get started with Deepvue. You can extend. We've had hundreds of people extend their membership for multiple years, given that they've been around for multiple months. They see what we're doing. They really like that, and they see Deepvue as the platform they want to be using. So with all this out the way, we can now get started on today's topic. So today's topic is about discussing earnings and how do we screen, set up things to get the most out of Deepvue when it comes to earnings. So one of the basic things that we all want to do is to screen for stocks that are about to report, right? We want accurate earnings dates, and we want to make sure that we can build a watch list of stocks that are about to report, or know right away if a stock is about to report. So in Deepvue, next to the symbol column, we have the logo, which you can click, and it is a drop down. You can hover over a company to get its description. And then the third thing that we have is a earnings flag. So the earnings flag we built into Deepvue is smart. So it turns red when earnings are within 7 days of, they're approaching within 7 days of today's date, and they turn gray if it's more than 7 days away. So these are, this gives you a clear indication, when you're trading and you have a watch list and a list of names. I know that PLTR is about to report within 14 days because the earnings flag is gray, and Reddit is about to report within 7 days, less than 7 days, since the earnings flag next to Reddit is red. So that's the first thing that you want to be aware of. A red earnings flag, we made it red because we want it to stand out. You want to be planning for earnings, and it's important that you don't kind of go into earnings with no cushion, which we'll also discuss today. So this is a good visual indication. If you don't see these earnings flags, you want to go ahead to the left of the symbol, click this, and it will pop up a menu called Visibility Settings. In Visibility Settings, you can show and hide the earnings date flags, also the dividends and the description on hover. You can toggle those as per your personal preference. Now, the next thing is how to screen for earnings for we'll just use a basic use case for next week. So if I go ahead and pull up this edit filter, I built a pre-made screen, which I'll share in the chat as we go through this, but it's earnings watch next week. Essentially, we're using a few data points that we've built around earnings, and I'll go through each of them in a bit. But this is looking for earnings coming up over the next week. And when you click the pre-made filter, it will automatically update every day in the background. So you're not updating it and coming here and updating the dates every single day. The second thing is the earning status is confirmed. So we have tentative earnings dates that are in the platform, and then when the company actually confirms that earnings date, we switch the toggle to confirmed. The second thing, the next two things that I have is that the expected EPS growth for the next quarter is 20%, and the expected sales growth for the next quarter is 20%. So these are companies that are expected to grow from an earnings and sales perspective, and it gives me a really nice watch list of 69 results that I can then, take a look at. Now, this is a very basic way to go about it. You can change this 20% to a 50% based on your personal preference, or if you're looking for even higher growth or higher estimated sales growth, then you can go ahead and do that as well. So these 20% are just baselines that most people tend to use, are discussed by, folks that have created the market for a very long time, like Ropel, Webster, and others. So that's why I put 20% here, and this gives me a nice list of earnings to be aware of and take a look at on when they're reporting. The next thing that you want to do is let's just go over some of the earnings filters that are available and how to use them. So I built this basic screen using the earnings date filter. So if you click that drop down, we have the last reported and the next earnings drop. So next earnings, you can select, I want earnings after a particular date or before a particular date. And then when you click period, you can then select one of the smart filters. So these smart pre-configured filters, when you click period and click next week or next month, will then dynamically update in your screen. So you're not selecting dates every single day or every single time you're running that particular filter. So what I did here was I used the next week filter, which then gives me October 27th to November 3 in terms of the date range. So if you haven't been using this, check this out in terms of next earnings. And then we also have last reported. So if we want to know, stocks that reported 1 quarter ago or before a particular date, we're using the last earnings date of every single symbol in our database, and that's how you can filter for that. The next few filters that we have is the earnings time of day. So if you're looking for earnings that are just coming up after hours, this is AMC after market close, and then BTO before the open. And if we don't know if they're going to report after market close or before the open, we put a NA flag. This is likely when when the company hasn't confirmed when they're about to report. So it could be a tentative date. Then we have the earnings status. So again, like I said earlier, when a company confirms and says they're, usually a couple of weeks before, they confirm their earnings date and they confirm the time as well. We put a confirmed flag so that way we know with certainty that the company is going to report. And then estimated is when we kind of forecast the date of earnings based on their prior reporting cycles. And we put an estimated, we calculate a date based on that. And then place an estimated tag on those symbols. Now, that's just a little bit about how to, the dates, the times, if it's confirmed or not, and how to navigate that. Let's go to the next thing that I want to discuss, which is earnings and sales surprise. So when companies report, what we're most interested in is when a company catches everybody off guard and they grow a lot more than they were expected to. And that's essentially what a earnings surprise or a sales surprise is. So the next screen I built, and I'll share this screen as well in the comments so you guys have access to it, is the earnings and sales surprise. So this screen essentially looks for companies that have reported over the last month that have reported a EPS surprise for the latest quarter of 20% or more and a sales surprise for the latest quarter of 20% or more. And right now we're just starting and we're going to get into the thick of earnings season, and this date will dynamically update. You can make this be not just the past month. So if I were to go to period, the last month, or you can select it, multiple months from these drop downs to make it, okay, earnings season started from this to that. And you can also make these static. So you could say, okay, Q4 of 2024, these were the stocks that had the highest earnings and sales surprises as well. So again, this is configurable for you to use, but this particular scan looks for, the minimum baseline of a 20% surprise on an EPS and sales basis. Now, it's one thing to build a screen like we just went over the earnings and sales surprise. The next thing is you can also visualize some of this as well. So if I look at IPX or some of these other stocks that have shown up, again, we're really early. So something like a TCBI just reported, again, it, it's quite early in the earnings season. That's why this particular screen is not that populated. But we have the stats table at the very bottom, which allows you to then look at, the company was, if you hover over, it will give you a tooltip. It says, company reported $1.62. The surprise was 182%. They reported earnings on October 17th, so about 10 days ago. And you could visualize that data in the stats table as well. You could scan for it, but you could also visualize it by hovering over these tooltips as well. And then also we have the earnings markers, which are built into the chart itself, which also gives you that same data for both earnings and sales that is fed into the charting system. So that was, just if you want to screen for earnings and sales surprises, it's really, really easy to do that. We have the data points to do it. Let's just X out of this and look at some of the data points that we have that relate to earnings and sales on a future basis. So if I'm looking at, if I want to screen for, let's say, estimated growth for the next quarter is 50% or more, we have a dedicated data point called EPS estimated growth percentage that you can use. And we also have an average EPS estimated growth percentage as well. So if you're looking for, the next 3 quarters, the estimated growth on a quarterly basis is 20%, it's expected to be 30% or more. Well, then we will also give you a list of those companies. So we have EPS surprise data point, which also is for the latest quarter going back, but it can also screen for future quarters as well. So there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to screening for estimates data, but there's also a lot of flexibility for screening for surprise data as well. A surprise happens when a company has reported already. So you say a surprise is essentially a company was expected to report, let's say, $1, and they actually reported $1.50. Well, then that catches the street off guard, which causes movement in price action, and movement in price action is essentially what we're looking at. So those are some of the earnings related data points that we have. You can screen for estimated growth percentages. You can screen for, the average growth percentages, both on an earnings and sales basis. So we have the equivalent data points for sales as well. So let's take a look at a few other data points that we have, and then we'll get to build a column set of how I tackle earnings and really, get into the application of things. So the next thing I do want to make you guys aware of is we added recently a data point called price percent change from last earnings. So this data point is really, really handy when it comes to focusing in on stocks that have performed really, really well when it comes to, let me just scroll up. So percent change from last earnings. If I were to go to my watch list, it would be a better way to look at it. So if we look at Reddit, for example, so Reddit last reported earnings on August 6th, and I added the percent change from last earnings as a column just to show you guys. So from the last earnings cycle to the next earnings cycle that's coming up for Reddit, which is in less than, which is basically on Tuesday after market close, Reddit has moved 49.71%. Same thing with CVNA. So the last earnings were on July, and the next earnings is on October 30th. So that's Wednesday after market close. It's moved 50%. So this can give you an idea of how to scan for percent change from last earnings, and you could do this for the entire database. So we could go to the screener, build, give me the winners from the last earnings cycle that moved X amount of percentage, or you can just simply add it as a column to give you guys an idea of, obviously OKLO has moved quite a bit, right? It's doubled and then some, 157%. U has moved up from this earnings gap to the next earnings are estimated to be November 7 before the market open, has moved 45%, and then IoT as well. You could use this to screen for the biggest winners in the last cycle, or which will build the next, the next screen that we're going to build is essentially what are some of the recent earning winners that have come up. So to build the recent earning winners, we have a preset screen, which we call recent earning winners. If I load that in and I edit that filter, essentially what it does is it uses price percent change from last earnings and the company has reported over the last month. We could change that to the last week. We could change that to the last quarter. We could give it custom dates, but it will basically, these two data points combined will give you a list of earning winners during earnings season to really hone in on. What I like to use this for is to capture the HV stocks that are gapping up with the highest volume in a year, highest volume ever, highest volume since last earnings season, or highest volume since IPO. This screen captures a lot of the big earnings winners as well. Now, if you don't want to purely base this on price percent change from last earnings, what you could do is you could add, the sales surprise was 20% or more. The EPS surprise was 20% or more. Or the average surprise over the last couple of quarters when they reported has been more than expected, or 20% or 30%. So you could get really creative with this data point. I think it's a really powerful one from for you to study the markets, but it's also a powerful one to have as a column set, in your columns as well, to give you an idea of the price performance from the last earnings season. So price percent change from earnings is one of the recent data points that we've included. If you're not using it, it's available both in the column sets. It's available in the screener. I'm just here to give you guys some, the gist of it, but you could get really, really creative as to how you want to use this particular data point. Let's pause here for a second and just take a few questions as they come through. And I will paste those screens because I do see a few questions on, can you paste the link? So let's just put these in the chat real quick. So earnings next week. There's a screen for that. Earnings and sales surprise. That's the screen. And then the rest of them are also under presets. So recent earning winners, earnings next week, next month, earnings watch, and earnings and sales surprise over the last month. So those are available as presets. When you click the dropdown, go to screener presets, go to earnings. Those are pre-configured for you. And when you click edit filter, you get to see the exact criteria. And then the beauty of it is if you go to presets and I go to earnings, I can duplicate by clicking the three dots, duplicate, and then save it under my saved screens and customize it whichever way I like. Okay, yeah, there's a query on, can you share your data panel as well? So here is my data panel. You have no sound. If you don't hear anything, Chris, it's likely on your end. It's likely on your end. Everybody else gave me a 1-2. That means I'm audible and things are working. Perfect. So let's take a few questions. Let's pause here for a second. So I thought Richard was doing a webinar. He took the weekend off. Richard, no, I was doing this webinar all along. He will be doing another one this upcoming week. And also he will be doing, we'll have Nick Schmidt also do a webinar on his weekly charts really soon. So I've been speaking to them. They will be doing that. Have extended all the way through? Awesome. That's great. I think you're referring to the Black Friday. Earnings, great list. Just recommendation to have them sorted by weekdays, Monday to Friday. That's a good suggestion, to have them sorted by Monday to Friday. But I think if you just add the earnings date as a column, so let's do that. So if I add earnings date as a column, let's just see if I have earnings set. There we go. So if you add this and you just sort it by whichever, it will give us the earnings date by month, which then automatically sorts it Monday to Friday, Peter. How to search for stocks which are one, reported earnings yesterday after market closed, and reported or sorry, I'm trying to read this on the fly. Reported or to be reported earnings before market today. So if you're looking for stocks that let's just build a screen for this. So what we want to do is go to earnings date. The next earnings are within the next week. I think what you're referring to is, a customized period. So if I want to know stocks that are about to report, what is October 27 today. So if I want stocks that are about to report today, or stocks that are about to report, let's say in October, but on the 29th. So now I have a 28, 29 screen. We apply that. So these are all companies that are about to report. I want the status to be confirmed. So only confirmed once, and I want the ones that are reporting after market close. So you would use a combination of these three things. We are looking at ways to make the presets that we have a lot easier to, in terms of design to access them, and also add some more configurable options. So like earnings after market close, earnings before market. So you can then choose multiple ones of those instead of making you put some dates and then being really creative with three of them. So I hope that answered your question, Chen. Let me know if I didn't. Problem with BMO and AMC is it doesn't show on so many. No, I mean, so if a company has confirmed its earnings, they usually confirm a time as well. So every uh so there are a few people saying okay. So the problem with what you're stating with BMO and AMC not showing does not um, happen once a company has confirmed. So if a company confirms, they also confirm the time. That's when we have the exact information. If we do a tentative date and we're kind of forecasting on their previous quarters, that's when we don't put AMC or BMO because it's just a tentative. They could pick one or the other. So I hope that makes sense. Also, all questions, please put them in the Q&A. I cannot keep up with the chat and the Q&A because I'm just doing an individual webinar today. So if you have any questions that you would like answered, please place them in the Q&A. The voice is gone. I cannot hear. So can everybody just confirm you guys are hearing me? Because I have had two people say they cannot hear me anymore. So I just want to make sure if that's their setup. Yeah, so everybody can hear me. Peter, that's likely on your end. Thanks. Since we're talking about earnings, do you have plan to add implied volatility for security to have a sense of plus minus percentages will go? Yes, we do have plans on adding implied volatility based on the options market. That will come when we integrate some of the options market data, and then we'll calculate implied volatility both on the earnings, the weekly, the monthly, etc. So we do have plans to add that. This is incredible, right? How much time passes between the actual report time and the DV software? So when earnings are reported in the platform, or when let's say Apple reports earnings at 4:15 p.m. after market close on a Tuesday is what they typically do. So they report it and we get it within less than 5 minutes into the platform. So it will be available in the stats table. It will be available in the columns. It will be available for screening everywhere less than 5 minutes. So it's not going to take 1 hour or 2 hours. It's what they report. We have a direct fire hose. We ingest that data and we push it to the database right away. In most cases, it's actually less than 5 minutes. Any plans to include numbers of IPOs, for example, ALAB missing 2024 numbers? That is something that we will include with our move to S&P and their data for earnings and historical. We will also have access to pre-IPO data, which we will include as well. So at the moment, we don't have pre-IPO data for many companies, but with this move, we will have access to that data. Does DV incorporate earnings guidance in its database? Would love to be able to do a robot style screen where you can scan for 3 beats and 3 raise, where companies estimates and also raise guidance. Guidance data is coming this quarter to Deepvue, so we will be adding guidance data both to the stats table as a screenable data point, just like we have earnings surprise. Those two things, the guidance data, to the ability to scan for it, the ability to display it, and the ability to just say, give me a list of stocks that have raised their guidance. We will have all of that available this quarter. Can you please show how to add icons to the watch list tab along the top? Can you please show how to add watch list icons? So if you're talking about this tab design, you just want it to be on the watch list tab, Kevin. I don't know if that's your question. If you could be a little more specific, but you want to be in the watch list tab for you to see these tabs at the very top. Okay, how does it calculate percent change from last earnings? So the way it calculates percent change from last earnings is it takes the close of this particular day, the close of the day it reported earnings, to the close of today. And that's the price percent change from last earnings. And that's how it's calculated. What is your favorite edge related to earnings? For me, we will get into how to screen for kind of, we built the watch list. We know which companies are reporting. And then what we're about to build, we'll build a watch list column set for both pre-market reports and post-market. And then we'll get into, percentage of daily volume and things of that nature. So I will be going through that in a little bit here, just so that if you're getting connection limit exceeded, you have too many tabs open. You are only allowed to open 3 tabs, Scott. Can I screen for earnings companies raising their forecast? So basically, guidance data will be integrated into the platform this quarter, and we will be very vocal and sending out lots of emails, videos, things of that nature when it is live. It's something that we're working on right now. Already fixed. Okay. When are Canadian exchanges going to be added? Not this year, likely next year. It's pretty quick. I was watching it last week. Okay. Will dark pool data be integrated into a platform? Yes, it will be next year, Q1. What is the source of your earnings estimates? At the moment, our source of earnings estimates is Zach's data, or sorry, FactSet. FactSet estimates is what we use. That's our source. Flags for earnings that has reported last 7 days. That's a good idea to have a flag that shows if a company has already reported. So I will make a note of that. I don't know if that adds a level of confusion, but I will take a note of this. So earnings flag for already reported. That's a good. I think Thinkorswim used to do that when I used to use that back in the day. When will S&P data be available? It will be available this quarter. Timelines don't change daily. Is your earnings net income or adjusted earnings? We use non-GAAP. So we have non-GAAP, but with the S&P integration, we will make both GAAP earnings and non-GAAP earnings both available. And then it's up to the user to decide on as to, as to how they want to go about it. So we'll have both of those different type of earnings calculations available in the platform. On the day of earnings, should I keep my positions or sell it on the day before and buy it again on the day after earnings? Some traders recommend it. So let's talk a little bit about, earnings cushion and how that works. So if I have a position, let's say I'm up, 40 something percent of, on a particular position and the company's about to report. So there's a couple of ways that you want to determine if you want to hold a position or not. So let's say if you have an oversized position, you can scale back a little bit, but keep the majority of it. So let's say I have a full position, which is 18% of my portfolio. Going into earnings, I don't have much cushion. I have, let's say, 8% cushion. And, the company is usually volatile in a huge way when it comes to earnings based on just prior earnings and how they react. Probably not the best idea to kind of, to just go with it and see if it just gaps up 20% if your cushion is small. So I would say reduce that 18% position to maybe 10%. You keep a chunk of it, you sell a chunk of it, and then you adjust to the situation after. If you're up, when my average price on a particular stock is well below the 21 day. So if the 21 day is at $73 and my average position is at $60, I'm in a really good and strong position, and I'm going to hold Reddit through earnings. Now, if it so happens that on earnings it gaps right down to the 50-day, or it gaps right down to my average position, or gaps way below, goes into 40s, which is again maybe likely or highly unlikely. Since earnings are binary events, it's hard to predict what may happen. But just a general, based on experience and trading, tens of and hundreds of earning cycles, if my average cost basis is well below the 21 day, I'm going to hold my full position through it. If my cushion is 10% or less, I will definitely sell half or more than half of it and then see what happens, or if not, sell all of it. So it's more like it's a tactical thing on a stock by stock basis for you to make a judgment. If you don't have any cushion and you're up 1% on a position and you're about to hold and you see historically the stock is wild on its previous earning cycles, at that point I would say you're gambling. That's what you don't want to be doing. You just want to survive in the markets, and you will run into luck will be on your side if you're not gambling, essentially. Right. Can I call our presets adjusted? Blah, blah, blah. So, Peter, I'm not sure what the question is, but can all our presets been adjusted with a day sorting? Blah, blah, blah. So, sorry, Peter, I'm having a hard time reading that question. If you want to rephrase that, is there a way to look for institutions accumulating or increasing ownership of stock like in market surge? We do not have a way of doing that. Funds data is coming with our S&P integration into the platform, and we will have a really clear, X amount of funds owned it this quarter, that quarter, that quarter, and then we will have that data in the platform. So that's planned for this quarter. Is it possible to get an API to make my own? No, we do not have any plans to offer any APIs. Will the London Stock Exchange be added at some point in the future? Probably next year it will be added. For the earnings and sales estimate lines, could they be dashed or allowed to select such as previous? Okay, so let's cover that, some of the earnings and sales indicators that we have. So we have the DV earnings line, if I were to add that, and then we have the DV sales line. So What you'll notice is that I added both of those as indicators to the platform, and I'm on the daily time frame and nothing shows up. That's normal. We've made it so that the earnings and sales lines are only available on the weekly time frame. So when I go to that weekly time frame, let's just get rid of the moving averages. Some of these, let's go to a different stock that I haven't. Let's go to Reddit, for example. And then we could take a look at earnings and sales lines this way. Let's go to PLTR. Okay. So the earnings line that I have is this blue line. It includes the forward estimates. If I go to the settings of this particular earnings line and I go to style, I'm pretty sure you can make it a dotted line, something like this. So now it's a dotted line. Well, I guess it's not a dotted line, but we got line, we got step. So you can visualize it many different ways, but I don't see a visualization for a dotted line. So we do not have that, but you have many other different styles. You can make it thin, thick, choose any of these that are available as well. So that's one way. The second input you want to be aware of is you could calculate it on a trailing 12-month basis, or you can hide and show estimates. So if you don't want to see the projected estimates, you can turn those off. If you do want to see them, you can turn them on as well. So these are the settings we have for the earnings line, and then the sales line is the same thing. You could plot the dollar value or percentage growth. Many people tend to prefer the dollar values. You can show and hide the estimates and the trailing 12 months. Same thing with the what you kind of, how you want to visualize it is entirely up to you. So I hope that answered the question, but we do not have a dotted line in the settings. Can we set the implied move for a particular stock? We do not have the implied move data, but we will have it early next year in the platform. Okay, let's just pause there. I just want to cover some, how I kind of trade earnings and how I tackle them next. So I'll list my current positions. I will take those as examples. That's the best way to kind of, communicate how I approach things. So I have two positions, Reddit and BLTR that we will go over. So Reddit, I've owned it from the $1.60 level. I'm up 40-some%. And the earnings are on Tuesday after market close. So one of the first things that I'm going to do is, I analyze the fact that my average price is in the 60s while the 21-day moving average is in the 70s. So when that situation happens, I'm in a strong position to then dictate what I want to do when it comes to earnings. So in the case of Reddit, it's really simple. It's above the 10-day. I have ample cushion, and there's no reason for me to kind of panic or do anything, but just to hold and see what happens when they report earnings after market hours. When they are reporting earnings after market hours, what I tend to do is go to a 5-minute time frame. Go ahead, add to the settings, and turn extended markets on. So this kind of view gives me, when they do report earnings on Tuesday, I will know right away as to what kind of action is going on. But I also tend to look at the price percent change after market and a few other data points that we have configured. So what I'll do is create a new column set with you guys just to really earnings column set. And then we'll just call this after hours. So if I were to create that, what I tend to put is the post-market. So post-market price percent change is one of them. So how is it, acting after hours? The next one that I put is how much of the volume is it trading versus its 50-day average volume? And then how much of the float has it traded as well, along with the post-market last price. So these are some of the columns that I have up. Especially, on my focus list, I switched to this particular column set, and then I'm closely looking at what's, kind of what's going on after hours. So if I have 2 positions reporting, if I have 4 positions reporting, I have the last price, I have the price percent change after hours, I have the post-market volume versus its 50-day average. So if it's trading high amount of volume, I know right away with these numbers, and then how much of the float has it turned over after hours. This is really helpful. These 2 data points, especially the post-market volume versus the 50-day average daily volume, and the post-market volume versus the float available. So this kind of gives me an indication of if there's a lot of interest post-earnings or if there's no interest post-earnings. So if a stock is down, let's say 5%, let's say Reddit is down, it reports 5%, and the amount of volume coming through after hours is, let's say, 5 to 6% of its 50-day average, I won't be too concerned. But if a stock is, coming down and the volume is massive, it's 30% of its 50-day average volume or 40% of it, that's when I'm concerned, because it's not only moving down, but it's coming in hot. There's a lot of volume behind it as well. So these two data points is really what you want to pay attention to. We have them available both in a pre-market format and a post-market format as well. So that's the second thing I'm kind of looking at. How is the volume after hours, especially for the positions that I own? Let's say I'm watching earnings on a couple of stocks and I'm watching, I load the earnings next week screen and I also have that up as well. So in that situation, I have the similar columns that are up. I'm taking a look at what's up the most after hours, how much volume is it getting, and that could then go feed into day one strategies. Day one strategies basically meaning the company has reported after hours, there's a lot of interest, it's taking out a key level on the daily or the weekly charts, and there's massive volume after they reported earnings as well. So these two data points is really what you want to learn when it comes to trading earnings post market as they're reported, or monitoring your earnings based on the positions that you do hold or do not hold as well. So these two are really key. If you guys have any questions regarding those, I'll be happy to answer them. But this is a column set that you want to have up when it comes to earnings as well. So I'll go ahead and share this in the comments. So this is the earnings column set after hours. So after hours, you can go ahead and add that. We have it as a preset as well. And then I have the same one for pre-market. So if I'm waking up before market open at about 7 a.m., looking at companies that are about to report or have already reported, I want to know how much of their 50-day average volume they have traded and how much of the float have they turned over in pre-market, and if there's a lot of interest in those. So, that's these two data points and that column set is what you want to have pre-configured. And then I kind of switch back and forth with this one and my focus. Focus is the other one that I have, which has this here. So I'll just pause there to see if there are any questions with how I approach things. I keep it pretty simple. People, you can build a dashboard of this as well. I would say if you go to the dashboard, I would likely build an earnings dashboard and kind of share that after this call with you guys on social media, because I think that would be nice to have as well. Just earnings coming up, after hours, pre-market, and then using those column sets as well, and then having it charted up on the 15-minute or the 5-minute. It will give you a real good, idea of how you can tackle earnings real time within Deepvue. Are there any preset screens for HV, IPO, HV1 that have met the grade? Yes. So there are many preset screens for high volume. So if I go to HV, here's a preset screen. Just I'll share the link to that, Alberto, in the chat. So HV preset screen. Hope that answers the question. Is there a strategy to enter a stock after hours on earnings report? So I'm not big on that. A lot of people do tend to do this, but I'm mostly operating within the positions that I have, or if I see something taking out a really key level after hours, it's very rare that I would, go ahead and place a huge trade. But something like a Tesla, let's say if it reports, and let's just take a look at when Tesla reported. So Tesla reported earnings and it spikes huge. If this level correlates with some daily or weekly level, I would have taken that trade. But I don't actively I wouldn't say I'm the biggest expert on trading after hours right away. I'm mostly watching what I own, or if there's a stock that I was interested in prior or have been tracking for a while and it takes out a key level, that's how I get involved after hours. I'm not actively looking to find a stock to trade as soon as it reports earnings. That's just not my style. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It definitely works, but just not my style. This is exactly what I'm looking for. It lists the companies reported last trading day after market and reported that price percent change of 5% or more, but I'm having difficulty search for. Okay, Chan, I will create a screen for you. If you want to just email hello@deepvue.com and I'll send you the preset for it. And we'll also make it a screener preset. It should be configurable. So pre-market price percent change greater than 5% is easy, and it's reported in the last 2 days, should also be easily configurable. How do I turn off extended hours? Doesn't seem to be working. So if you go ahead in the charts and click the settings, you go to session and you just go to regular, it will go to the regular chart without after hours data. And if you want after hours data, you can go to sessions again and go to extended and it will go back to extended. You should be able to turn that off and on, Joanne. At some point, will we be able to see the pre and post market data on a daily chart instead of intraday charts? Yes, you will be able to do that when we move to our own charting engine, which is planned for this quarter. We that will be something that will be available on the new charts when we move away from this charting engine. Okay, same question, so we'll dismiss that. Is it a good idea to trade the earnings, or should I wait for the first pullback after earnings? So, Alexander, what you're asking, a lot of these questions I would say come with experience. There's no like, I can't just say, yes, it's a good idea to trade earnings. Yes, it's a good idea to trade first pullback. It all depends on strategy, and what you've traded in the past, what you want to trade in the future, what situations have you seen. So it's a lot of personal. So if I don't tend to trade just any stock that is starting to move after hours. That's not my strategy. I'm not good at it, so I stay away from it. And then when it does report, I wait for the HV gap ups. When they do gap up and they have huge volume behind them, that's when I get involved. Um, your focus list has an eye icon besides the color. Oh, oh. So this is just an emoji. So Kevin, so this is just the eye emoji. So I just put an eye emoji there and I save that as a name. And that's why the eye shows up there. So it's just an emoji, it's nothing else. Can you show again how you changed it so fast to post market? Is there a column setting preset? Yes. So if I go to the drop down and I go to column set presets, we do have a pre-market and post-market. What I will do is under earnings, I will add a pre-market earnings column set and a post-market earnings column set after this call. They will be available here. What we created just now is the earnings column set after hours, which includes the key data points that we spoke about. So I will be converting this into a preset. It will be available under the earnings folder as soon as we hang up. Okay. Is extended hours pre and post market? Yes, extended hours is pre and post market, including regular market data. Are your watch lists always populated this little, or this is a separate account? I almost feel ashamed for the clutter I have. No, my watch list, my focus list is always less than. This is actually one too many. I still, I I'm just watching kind of CVNA. I haven't traded it. But I am in OK. I was in OKLO. I am in Reddit, PLTR, and IoT itself. And then I just sold out of Vue, so I'm just keeping track of it. I keep it less than four or five names max. So. May you tell us the Discord channel. So the Discord channel, I sent the link to it above. Let's just link to it again. Let me just copy this link once more for the folks that are interested in joining our Discord. So anybody in this webinar can go ahead and join. This is where we do polls and things of that nature. Feature announcements, previews, etc. Okay. Do you use EMA or SMA for your 21-day average? I use SMAs only. Based on the studies that I've done, SMAs keep you in longer, which has resulted in a higher average gain. So for me and my trading style, I don't have the evidence to use EMAs, even though a lot of people have hopped onto that train of thought that, having recent information will skew the moving average, will get you out quickly. But based on the stats and the studies, like mathematical numbers that I've crunched, SMA is better than EMA for me. So I don't agree with the fact that EMA should be used. That's for my trading, and it's all, for you to decide at the end of the day. Why do you why do you look so mean in your Twitter profile pic? I will update it. How do you trade before or after market? How do you trade much before? Do you trade much before or after market open close? I trade within the first hour of the day. Pretty much is my trading where I come in, I have levels that I'm looking at, and if those levels trigger, I take action. If they don't trigger, I don't take action. So that's more again a trader line type of question when we do webinars on that side. Happy to elaborate. But if you guys haven't checked out the Ultimate Trading Guide on traderline.com, just Google Ultimate Trading Guide Traderline. You'll see, we've done 14 hours of content of just covering how we trade. So Have you back tested? Yes, I have. For my trading, SMA is better than EMA, and my average gain was better than about 3.5%. So if I were to use SMA versus EMA, so SMA for me is better than EMA. Do you follow CanSlim the most? No, I do. I swing trade. I take elements of CanSlim, elements of swing trading, elements of stand system, and kind of have morphed them into my own system. Will we notice a difference when you change the chart databases? You will not notice much of a difference when we do switch to a new charting engine. It's almost like a one for one in terms of change, but what you will notice is they will be much, much faster, even faster than what they are right now. So they will be much faster, much more responsive. We'll have some creative ideas in terms of drawing tools and the data that we display within our own charts. Okay, so let's answer a few more. I don't have much else that I want to cover. I think I covered how I tackle earnings, how to build an earnings column set, how to screen for earnings, how to find, build a watch list, how to build, screen for earnings surprises, earnings estimates, sales surprises, how to visualize the data in stats table, and also how to visualize the data within the charts themselves. So I think I've covered all. I'll just answer a few more questions and then we'll call it a day. Do you have any swing positions outside of Reddit and PLTR? I do have IoT, and I think from a couple quarters ago though. This one's not been the best performer, but I do own it somewhere in the 30s. It hasn't performed too well. It's just a smaller position. My bigger positions are Reddit and PLTR. Is it worth taking the pro version of the Ultimate Trading Guide after we've done the free? I would say, I mean, I am the instructor for that pro course. So yes, we dive a lot deeper into each of those concepts. You can take a look at it if, we have a page of what we cover there. There's a lot more content we continuously add to that pro course. But I would say, the free course is, all you need. And I'm not going to sit here and say you have to buy the pro one. So. Does this tool work in Indian markets? No, it's not available in India just yet. We will get to India later this quarter or early next year. Where can you find the recordings? The recordings will be available under the education tab if you're already a subscriber. All the previous recordings are available over here of all the webinars that we've done. That's kind of part of the subscription. And then we also publish weekly articles and tutorial videos as well on how you can use the platform. Okay. Yeah, I covered that yesterday. So the relative strength line that you guys see on my charts is basically the 21-day average relative strength. We covered this in depth yesterday. That recording will be out on the YouTube channel tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. I won't cover that here again because I went through exactly how to use relative strength and line and the relative strength phases yesterday. Okay, I see a lot of repetitive questions. I'm just trying to answer as much as possible. We got about 2 more minutes to the top of the hour. At some point, will we be able to, okay, this one was answered already. I have problem navigating earnings when market closes to check reported BTO or AMC for the previous day. Can you find a solution for that? So this has been mentioned a few times. AMC scan and BMO scan earnings. I'll find a solution to that and we'll make it a preset. What is earnings season? When does it start? And so, Alex, I get the feeling you're very new to the markets, which is great. I would say head over to the TraderLine side and check out our YouTube channel. Go over the Ultimate Trading Guide to build up a whole bunch of knowledge. With respect to that, earnings seasons happen 4 times a year, once every quarter. They always start with the banks reporting first, usually Wells Fargo and Bank of America, those types, and then we get into tech season for earnings, which is Apple and the social media companies and things of that nature. So it happens 4 times a year in the United States. Is there a way to lock the stats table as it switches back and forth all the time between quarterly and yearly? It switches back and forth between quarterly and yearly only if you go from the daily chart to the weekly chart and back. That's the only time it should switch. If it is switching more than that, let me know. That's definitely a bug that we would need to then fix. Okay. Please share the URL for Ultimate. Just Google, please Google Ultimate Trading Guide, TraderLine, and you will find it. Just Google it. Okay, another great webinar. Thank you. Okay, look up. Any promos? Email hello@deepvue.com with a special Black Friday offer. It's in the comments. You just email hello@deepvue.com with these. Just say I attended the earnings webinar I would love to know about the special Black Friday offer. Are there any system requirements for Deepvue? No. There's no, I mean, obviously, if you use like a Chromebook that is very dated and old, it will feel a lot slower. But if you are using just a normal computer, that's kind of the requirement for it. Well, the recordings of the RMB webinar, the RMB webinar is actually already on our YouTube channel, and will be added to the education tab as well. So that is already live on the Deepvue YouTube channel. Thanks, great job. So we're about 20 seconds to the top. Are the webinars you post on YouTube also posted in the Deepvue education tab? Yes, they are, Rick. That's a good question. Hello@deepvue.com. Hello@deepvue.com. So I'll just type that in again. Hello@deepvue.com. You just want to email that. So we will end it there. Thanks so much for joining. I hope this was helpful. We'll take snippets of this video and turn them into clips as well so that it's more digestible information. Nobody has to sit there watch it for an hour. I'll make these presets live in terms of the column sets. And then if you have any questions with regards to any of the screens and you're watching this after the fact, they will be available in the comments on the YouTube video as well. With that, I wish you guys a good weekend.